Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. I only have one question. Was this intro too much? Just to let you guys know, you are going to be hearing the words of all time quite a lot during this video. Hello guys, and welcome back to the Popcorn Podcast presented by me, Dylan, of course. Today I have a very special video. It feels like I've kind of waited my whole life to actually film this video because in many ways this film actually changed my life, and that film of course is The Dark Knight. Just very quickly though, if you guys haven't seen my previous video, it was on Batman Begins, so be sure to check that out. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description down below. But without further ado, let's get into Christopher Nolan's crown jewel, and that of course is The Dark Knight. So straight after filming the 2006 mystery thriller The Prestige, it was evident that Christopher Nolan had to return to his modern day version of Gotham City with the second installment of the Dark Knight trilogy he had started with Batman Begins back in 2005, but this time with his brother Jonathan Nolan to help write the screenplay. Let's get everything out there nice and early so you guys can understand my personal viewpoint on this film. Let me lay all my cards on the table. The Dark Knight of course gets an A+ from me. There was never a film like The Dark Knight before its time, and I guarantee you there will never be one like it after. In my opinion, this is hands down the greatest superhero film of all time. There's no debate on this, it is The Dark Knight. I think it has one of the best opening sequences of all time. I think it has one of the best endings of all time. I think it has one of the best performances of all time, of course, which we will get to in a bit. I think it has one of the best screenplays of all time, particularly for a comic book based film. The Dark Knight is truly one of the best films of all time. You know, if coming in on IMDb's highest rated films ever at number 3, only behind The Shawshank Redemption and The Godfather, wasn't enough to tell you why this film is so beloved, not just by comic book fans, but also all-round film lovers. Let me dive deeper into my personal experience with The Dark Knight. So The Dark Knight came out in 2008, and I was 9 years old at the time. And I will never ever forget the first time I watched this film. So essentially what happened was my cousins from Norway used to come over to London and stay with us during the summer for a couple of weeks. They used to do this quite frequently during that part of my childhood. And we were obsessed with the game Tekken 5 on the PlayStation 2. Shout out to Tekken, of course. And we would literally just sit inside the house and play this game for hours and days on end, right? We were obsessed with this game and we didn't really do anything else. It was a big part of our childhood. And one day my mum got so frustrated with us that she basically said, "You have to leave the house." So what she did was she took us to the cinema to see The Dark Knight. So we turned up at the cinema and basically all the screenings were packed out. They were all sold out, and we couldn't get into the screening that we were originally planning to go to. So my mum had to book us IMAX tickets online. Hence, The Dark Knight was the first film I ever saw in IMAX. Now, as soon as the window shattered in the opening bank heist sequence of the film, my eyes refused to leave the screen. For 2.5 hours, me as a 9-year-old kid was glued to this great piece of cinema and watched through this absolute masterpiece of a film without a second's thought. The Dark Knight remains to this day one of my favorite films ever. It might even be my favorite film of all time. As a kid, this was the first film to show me a completely different side to the comic book genre. One that didn't really accustom to stereotypical trends that, you know, the Sam Raimi films for Spider-Man or the X-Men films did. When watching The Dark Knight for the first time, I actually forgot that I was watching a film because of how great the story and the performances are. As I sat there in the cinema, mesmerized by what I was watching, Heath Ledger's Joker performance absolutely scared the living shit out of me. And yes, the film uses CGI, but very minimal because it's just not Christopher Nolan's style of filmmaking. He uses real stunts, real set pieces, and that is one of the reasons why this film and so many of his others are so damn immersive, not to mention the use of IMAX cameras. To call The Dark Knight just a superhero film would not be doing the film any justice, because it is one that is so grounded in reality. On one level, we have an absolute staple, a must-watch in the action movie genre, and on another level, we have an extremely gritty crime thriller that expanded on what Batman Begins did in every single sense of the word. This film also quite possibly features my favorite performance by an actor ever, and that of course is Heath Ledger's Joker. Just like Batman Begins set up Batman as a symbol for justice, The Dark Knight sets up Joker as an absolute agent of chaos, someone who isn't motivated by money and therefore can't be bought. I also think Christopher Nolan made the right decision by not giving Joker a massive backstory or anything like that, just like a lot of the versions in the comics, because it just added to the whole mystery of this character. But just because he didn't have a big backstory or anything like that, that doesn't mean he wasn't developed. He's an antagonist that wants to send a message out into society, and that message is that anyone can abandon the law and their morals when pushed to that breaking point. And that is exactly what he does to Batman. He breaks Batman in such a psychologically destructive way, a way that I have never seen any villain do to the hero. Heath Ledger commands absolutely every single frame he is in this film with his utterly insane performance as the Joker. It's almost as if he is the lead and Christian Bale's Batman is the supporting role, just because of how much his presence dominates everybody else's, and just how magnetic he is in this role. The Joker is the role that ultimately cemented Heath Ledger's legacy as one of the greatest actors to ever live. And I just can't help but think how much the world of cinema lost on the day he died. So, what's my favourite scene in any film ever? Well, that would have to be the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight. I'm going to save my full thoughts for this scene for a video I'm going to make on the Dark Knight trilogy as a whole, but I think one of the reasons why this film works so well is freedom. Chris Nolan gives his actors the trust and the liberty to take their roles to the next level with no strings attached. What you witness in the interrogation scene is an utter masterclass in acting from these two giants in the game.
You have nothing to threaten me with.
The Dark Knight also brings some really great additions to the series. I think Aaron Eckhart's Harvey Dent is a really underrated performance, particularly towards the end of the film. And I think the three-way relationship between James Gordon, Harvey Dent, and of course Batman is the root of The Dark Knight. Maggie Gyllenhaal, of course, replaces Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes in this film, and I think I prefer this version of the character much more than the one in Batman Begins. She was really pivotal in bringing another layer to the characters of both Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent. Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon, Michael Caine as Alfred, and of course Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox are also fantastic once again. Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard return for this film and take the score to the next level, and I'm talking next level. This film features some of the most pulse-pounding music I've ever heard in a film before. I really don't know how Christopher Nolan outdid himself with the incredible Batmobile chase sequence from the first film, but he gave us this.
Goodbye.
Just wow. Guys, I truly have nothing bad to say about The Dark Knight. It is close to perfection as a film in this genre can be. I think I've watched it over 30 or 40 times, and every single time I watch this film, I am just in awe of the story, the performances, the brilliant set pieces, and of course Christopher Nolan's absolutely exquisite direction. If I could give this film a grade higher than an A+, believe me, I would. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on The Dark Knight. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and leave a like down below. And of course, share your thoughts on The Dark Knight in the comments section, and let's talk about this absolute masterpiece. If you are new to this channel and love talking about movies, you are in the right place. So please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and look forward to my next video, which will of course be on The Dark Knight Rises. As always guys, take it easy, and I will see you again very soon in another video.